All right, so I had another submission for a door approach breakdown. This is actually coming out of the roofing space, so it's a little bit different depending on the way you're knocking on the doors. Sometimes people knock for storm, which is technically an insurance pitch, getting the insurance company to cover the damage, and then other people they do retail approach, which is selling them a new roof, either cash or a financed option. So I believe this one's focusing on damage and focusing on an insurance storm approach. So there's a couple of little differences, but we'll go into this. First of all, like going into the pitch, obviously it's a little bit tougher when there isn't someone to role play with or a customer. So obviously he's going to be kind of role playing it by himself. But he obviously is wearing a Cleveland jersey, which is awesome. I think Cleveland's going to do well. That's the only jersey I own, even though I'm a huge Chiefs fan. So appreciate you wearing some swag. Let's dive into it.
I'm John with Triple Diamond Construction, and we're in your area today because...
So I don't know if you guys heard that. I was a little bit muffled there at the beginning, but he just said, "Hi, my name's John. I'm with Triple Diamond Construction." So it's just straight up, simple knock and then right into the pitch. Again, if you watched my other video, I'm a big believer in making sure that you're not just showing up and then trying to pitch somebody. A lot of the times I relate it to like the ShamWow commercials. If you see any kind of like infomercial that pops up, those guys will just like, "Hey, here's this thing, my name's this is a great product, buy now, you can get all these discounts, yada, yada, yada." And it's just a lot of stuff thrown at you rather than a real conversation. A conversation happens where you talk and then they talk. You ask questions, they answer, and it goes back and forth. And so that's really the focus you want to have with your door approach. So you kind of want to craft it from the beginning thinking, cool, how can I, show this person that I'm someone that's worth having a conversation with? And then what kind of questions or engagement can what do I need to do to really engage and get this person to come out of their shell? So really that step one is breaking their preoccupation. It's breaking that pattern. It's showing them that you're different from anybody else that's come through the area, and it's showing them that it's not, they can't really put a pin or put you into a category as far as a person that's coming to their door. If you open up with something that's a little bit more personal and charismatic. So I'd suggest to relate to them somehow, to be able to start asking them questions, kind of going to different things. And so obviously you just said, "Hey, cool, my name's this is my company, and this is what we're doing," which is fine, but I don't think people are going to be listening. And you can't sell a deaf person. You can't sell someone that doesn't speak the same language unless you can translate or do something to them. So in this situation, what you're saying is falling on deaf ears because they're just expecting you to kind of go through your pitch regularly. So highly recommend to engage with them in some way, break their pattern, and get them to realize that it's really a Josh and they're not just talking to a door-to-door solicitor.
Done to your neighbor's homes. Janet down the road, John with Triple Diamond Construction, and we're in your area today because of the recent storm damages done to your neighbor's homes.
Okay, so he just said, cool, name, company, and the reason why we're here is because of the damages that have been done to your neighbor's homes. So that's relating, that's showing that it's like, hey, cool, there's damage to the other homes. So obviously he's going to go in to say, hey, that's why we're here, to see if you also have damage. So it's kind of creating that affiliation, and it's like, hey, cool, we're out here helping the neighborhood. I think it's a great pitch. It's a great mentality to say, hey, we're doing like a neighborhood program. We're doing a neighborhood discount. If you can work into the group just like the other neighbors did, I can get you the best deal. That's probably the most common approach there is, and obviously one of the most effective depending on the way you spin it. So he's just saying, hey, we're out there inspecting the roofs, and we're out here to see if it's a good fit for you.
Janet down the road here, she gave us a call.
Okay, Janet down the road, name dropping, she gave us a call.
Come out and inspect her property.
Came out to inspect her property.
And well, we figured while I was in her neighborhood, we'd come around and knock on some more doors.
So, and then he just, while we were out here, we figured we'd try to catch some more business. So what you're really trying to do here, Josh, is you're trying to say, okay, cool, so here's what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. This is what's in it for you, and this is what's in it for us as a company. And it really needs to be clear to customers. A lot of the times, door-to-door people, we forget this, and the infomercial, like I was talking about, for sure they do this, where they're just like, if you buy now, this is half off. If you buy now, we're going to be able to add in this extra thing, and if you do this, in the next 10 minutes, we'll double the offer, da-da-da-da. So a lot of the times, it's almost like too much of a give, and we need to say, hey, well, this is why we're going to give so much, and this is what it's actually going to benefit. This is how it's going to benefit us. So it's really important to have that balance. So you're hitting that a little bit, Josh. I just wanted to really like hit on it a little bit for other people that might not recognize it. So essentially what you want to do is say, hey, what's in it for the customer? We're doing the inspections at no cost. We're out here just seeing if you were to qualify. We're out here just to check out a couple of the different roofs like we're doing for your neighbors. So that's what's in it for you. What's in it for us, which he hit on a little bit. He's obviously like, hey, cool, so we're just seeing if we can help some people out. But you might want to hit on a little bit more where it comes across as saying, the reason why we're doing this is because as we get more business in the area, we get more calls from the neighbors that also need help or also have damage, and they'll end up calling us because we did business with you. People want to do business with, who they're familiar with or who they've been recommended to. So our goal is to offer the best service to you and your neighbors out here. So that way the other neighbors that didn't do it with us this time around or didn't have damage will call us down the road if there is a problem. So it's really making that balance where it's like, hey, cool, we're doing all this for you and it's really cool, but there's also a reason why we're doing this. We're not just giving away free stuff. This isn't a scam. So it's important to have that balance, because if you're too far off the edge, then people are just going to really pull back and think that you're scamming them. So I'm going to jump back just a few seconds and then start over.
In your neighborhood would come around and knock on some more doors just to see if anybody else was affected. Now, if you give me the permission to go ahead and go up on your...
Okay, so this is where I'm going to really offer some suggestions, Josh. So you started going to, if we're going to do some more inspections for the neighbors, and then you hit on a now. If you give me the permission, what I'll do is, and then you're obviously going to kind of go into probably the spiel a little bit more. Now, what that does is that sets it up for like, okay, maybe they were saying like, oh, it sounds good, it sounds okay, or whatever, that first part of the pitch. And then you kind of said like, now, and then automatically in my mind, what I think the customer is running through is like, oh, here comes the catch. Here comes the problem, or here comes the bad side or whatever, right? So I would refrain from saying like now and hitting on it hard, unless you change up your tonality a little bit and have a really good phrase right afterwards. A lot of the times it's used in pest control and different industries to bring extra value to say, hey, you know what, now, but if you work with me now, or hey, now what we'll do is actually do this and this, and you change your tone to come down a little bit, it can build value. But I think right here, you're just trying to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Now I'm trying to get to the next thing. I'm trying to transition. And so as you do this transition, you just need to make it a little bit more smooth. So take away now, and then as you go into it, you started saying, if I can have your permission, if you allow me to do this. We don't want to ask for permission. We want to assume, especially because you are actually doing a really good service. As roofers, as people that have damaged roofs, it's important for us to do our job the right way, or they're not going to get the service. And we know that the insurance providers are not, really on their side very much. They're in it to make a profit and whatnot. So on our side, it's really important that we are assumptive and we know, hey, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. This is how it's going to benefit you. And then this is, other people are doing it as well. So let's be more assumptive with that, rather than saying, if I can have your permission, if you give me permission to do this, X, Y, Z, I would make sure it's just more like, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is why we're going to do it. So again, I'm going to scroll back a little bit so that way we can kind of hear the whole thing flow.
If anybody else was affected. Now, if you give me the permission...
Wait, real quick. I really like that word that you used, was affected. So you're saying, hey, we're jumping up on their homes to see if they were affected. And I think that's a better word than saying like we're jumping up to see if there's damage. Just to let you know. I think it's a great word to say like, hey, we're just here to see if anybody else is affected, right? It's nice.
Go ahead and go up on the roof. It's not going to cost you anything today. What I can do is get up to...
Okay, so you said, it's not going to cost you anything today, which is fine.
Take some pictures. If there is any damage, and I'll come down here and I'll explain it to you, and we can go from there if you'd like. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the end, right? Oh yeah, so that was the end. We'll go back through it. There's a couple things I wanted to touch on. But the main thing is just the timidness, the uncertainty. And I know it's hard. You might be a little bit more assumptive on the doors. This is a little bit different when you're just like role-playing by yourself. But realistically, when it comes down to it, if you are in front of a customer and you have that kind of energy, they're going to be uncertain. So it's going to be better to say, okay, cool. So this is what we're going to do moving forward. I'm going to put my ladder up over here. We're going to take some pictures. We're going to show them to you and get you guys set up. If it's a good fit, great. I'll give you the thumbs up. If it's not, then I'll let you know that that we're going to need to, or I guess it's kind of weird to explain it that way. So say if you have damage, I'll come back and show it to you. We'll go through the next steps. But if you don't have any damage, I'll give you the thumbs up and say that you're good to go. So it's important to kind of just have more of an assumptive feel, and instead of like, hey, are you interested? You know, let's see if it's a good fit. So I'm gonna scroll back. There's a couple of things I want to hit on in here.
What I can do is get up there, take some pictures.
What I can do, it's like, no, it just needs to be what I will do. I'm going to.
If there is any damage.
If there is any, so the hands are it's important to be animated with your hands, but I feel like the way you're doing it is kind of like I'm unsure kind of way. Like if there is any damage, and it's a little bit better to be more authoritative with it. So it's like if there's no damage on the roof itself, then this is what will happen. Like you'll get the thumbs up. I'll let you know that you're good to go. It's not a problem now, and maybe down the road if there is another storm, we'll come back out and check it. You know, let us know. Here's, you know, call me, or these are our signs or whatever. But if it's kind of like I'm not sure, like if there isn't any damage, it just kind of makes you seem like a little bit more of like you're not as professional or whatever. If you're kind of more unsure, rather than being like, so if there's not damage, this. If there is damage, this. Rather than be like, so I don't know, but maybe there is or isn't.
And I'll come down here and I'll explain it to you, and we can go from there if you'd like.
Okay, that's the other part. So we can go from there if you'd like. So again, we don't want to say if you'd like. You know, we want to say like really getting down to it. It's like, hey, so if there is damage, I'll show you exactly what it is. I'll show you why it's important to get this taken care of, and we'll go through the next steps. So it's like, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're doing. Not if you'd like, I can show you what our pricing is, or I can show you how we can help you. I just think you're going to get a lot more deals that way. So other than that, though, I feel like body language, it's good that you're moving. And again, that you're a bigger dude. Really important to stand to the side. I think you were kind of showing that. It's always hard with these role plays. But it is really important that you are, you know, standing 45 to 90 degrees or whatever, making sure you're not taking up too much space. And then using a lot of hand motions to help like guide and direct their eyes and the conversation as well. So all in all, pretty good. The main things that I would touch on is, again, the preoccupation breaker. I know it's hard to do in a role play. It's a little bit weird, so maybe that's why you didn't do it. But make sure that you're engaging with them before going into the pitch. And then I'd say the way you kind of went through the pitch, it was pretty standard. I think you could improve it by maybe making it a little bit more engaging, but the standard stuff works every time. And then at the same time, I really like the word affected, so keep using that. I think it's a powerful word rather than being like, we're just seeing who else has damage. Then other parts of it is just being more assumptive. So when you are transitioning, this is, you know, it really separates, you know, the closers from the non-closers, is really having a strong transition. And so your whole pitch should be built around that. Your preoccupation, the pattern break, is the number one important thing. Your transition is the next most important. What you say in between there is really not as important as you might think it is. You could have, you know, the best pitch in the world, but if you can't transition, or you can't have anybody listen to you because you can't relate to them or break their pattern, then it doesn't matter how great those words are. So they're really not as important as you might think they are. So that transition needs to be really strong, whether it's like, you know, a transition is going from talking the talk to actually walking the walk. So it's getting them physically moving, it's writing something down, it's getting them engaged that way. So whatever that is, whether it's like, hey, cool, so do you want me to put my ladder over here, or it's bringing them outside and showing them the damage, or it's starting to take their information down, write it down, or type it in on your tablet or something like that. You really need to focus your pitch on making that transition as easy as possible, and making sure that they get really comfortable with it, so it's not like this hard, hey, so now I'm going to go into this. It just needs to be really smooth and easy and assumptive. It should just be like, you're the FedEx guy, the UPS guy, the meter maid, the guy that comes around and is just like, hey, cool, here's this, sign here, go. You should just be like, hey, we're doing the inspections. I'm not sure if you're a good fit. We're jumping on a couple of the neighbors' homes. Where do you want me to put my ladder? Right here, over there. It should be really, really simple, assumptive, and easy going. So other than that, pretty good. Feel free to send in another video. I'd love to see the differences and critiquing that. And it's always hard like this. So if you have one in front of a customer, or role playing with somebody else that's in the office, or a teammate or something like that, that could also be really helpful. So hopefully that was good. Feel free to comment, ask any questions. If you have your door approach or sales process that you would like critiqued, or would like some feedback on it, feel free to send it in. Send me a direct message, or I'll link my email and you can send it that way. Thanks.